Okay, can people hear me? Let's see if this works now. I'm gonna try to see if this works. So good evening, good evening. I don't know about you, but boy, did I like the weather today. It was a fantastic day to be outside and about. Nothing like temperatures in the 60. We're just a few people short, so we're gonna wait a little bit longer. Um, so remember, all day Saturday is pretty much open. I've got a couple slots that are taken, but if you want to drive, I should be able to squeeze you in. Um, I will be driving Monday and Tuesday, so if you've got some time, please let me know what you have available. We'll do that at the end of tonight's class, but I want you to think about it because, like I said, we are on the home stretch now. I looked at the raw scores from the midterm, and I do not want you to be discouraged. If you did score in the 70s, the low 70s, it's not the end of the world. I haven't really done a deep dive into how everybody did. I just looked at what you got for a score and I put it into the grade book. But I find more people doing worse on the midterm than they do on the final. So if it makes you feel at all any better, the final usually goes a little bit easier than the midterm. And I think a lot of times the signs and some things kind of catch people by surprise. So it gives you some idea of what I'm looking for. It was heavy on signs and the chapter 3 in responsible driving and the two classes that we had on sign signals and pavement markings. So that is something not to be discouraged by. Okay, I'm quite pleased with. Boy, we're still missing a few people. Where is everybody? So make sure that you are signed in. Okay, remember to text me. So maybe there might be a few people that are texting in but aren't on the YouTube channel here because there's 15. Okay, we're just missing 4 more people. So, I find that if you show up for all the classes, I find those are the people that are really doing better in class. I don't want to, make it. More people are going to have problems with not showing up and doing their work than I'm not too worried about the midterm. I'm worried about you just participating during the classes because I think eventually it will come out in the final. But if you don't show up, I can't give you credit. And if you don't show up, you don't pass driver's ed. So, I mean, I know I'm speaking to the people that are on. I got to speak to the people that aren't showing up. So it is important to show up when it's timed to do class. I do understand people have soccer, they have other things, but you're supposed to mark off this time to be in class. It's supposed to be a live class. We're supposed to have some type of a dialogue with answering questions that you may have and questions that I may want to give to you to see what your attitude, behavior on certain things are. So continue to participate, and it's going to serve you well on the final. So with that said, let's kind of get right into what we're going to cover. So get out a blank piece of paper. I told you that when we went to sign signals and pavement marking, it's one of my favorite classes. Let me get out of the music here. I really liked last week's topics. I really do. Now, tonight's topic on driving emergencies, I think it's an important subject to go over because they do come up when you drive. But of all the different topics that I get to speak on, this is the one that is really difficult to get excited about. It's kind of dry, and the steps and techniques to driving emergencies are constantly changing. So some of the things that we'll talk about today, I'm sure 5 years from now will be slightly a little bit different. The analogy that I give to driving emergencies, it's like being trained in first aid or CPR. I know it's a requirement in high school. They make you take it through health class. But if I was to ask you right now, how many of you have ever given someone first aid? Have you ever given CPR to somebody? I would probably bet there's nobody out of this class of 19 that has done first aid on anybody. Some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight may never, ever happen to you in your entire career driving. And I'm talking 50, 60 years of driving. I think I've told you I've been over 1.5 million miles with students, and I can tell you never have we had the front hood of the driver's ed car come up, fly open while we've been driving. We have never been submerged in water in the driver's ed vehicle. But yet this is topics. These are situations that they want you to be somewhat familiar with. If they did, crop up in your driving, what are the steps that are going to be necessary to get you out of trouble? So basically, it is a mechanical problem that happens to a vehicle. That's why we have warning lights, and we've gone over, we had a whole class on how to check for warning lights. So we know the red warning lights are really important. That's telling us that's something that needs to be tended to. If it's a yellow light, it means something is activated, it's on. We should be aware of that, but it's not the same as a red light. So let's kind of go through from severity, from the least severe to the most severe. And I kind of like the adage, the think before you act type of statement that we have here. Because the first thing when something bad happens is we freak out. We just kind of lose our mind. And at times we're reacting to something that we should hesitate on, think about what our options are, and then act upon them. So I want you to realize that driving emergencies need to be tended to, but it doesn't have to be a split second, type of response. It's probably more like after like 3 or 4 seconds. And you may think that, is a very quick period of time, but 3 to 4 seconds does give you a chance to think in your head about choosing maybe 2 or 3 different options. So don't just hit the brakes real hard or jerk the wheel real quickly, because it's going to probably put you in a worse situation. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about, and it happens to everybody at some point in their driving. So this is the one thing, like I said, this is the least, severe type of driving emergency. I mean, most of us have gone off the edge of the pavement. We weren't paying attention. We oversteered the wheel. We understeered. Got the gas, the brake mixed up. For whatever reason, when we're learning to drive, we have a hard time putting our car out on the road and maintaining where it should be. So I want you to kind of take this step by step. So just kind of write down 1 or 2 words to kind of put things in perspective of what you should do. So the first thing here is grip the steering wheel tightly. Is because when you drop the right side of your vehicle off to the edge of the road, it's going to pull to the right. So you want to kind of counter that pulling to the right with keeping the car going, in a straight, not a straight line, I should say, but half on, half off. Kind of follow the way the pavement is taking you. Don't jerk the wheel. At this point, don't jerk the wheel. So don't panic. Should let go of the gas pedal. That's really important. Do not step, and this is supposed to be brake pedal. I don't know why it came in gas pedal, but do not step on the brake pedal suddenly or use the brake pedal too hard. You want to use it very easy to slow your speed down. And a lot of times you don't have to brake when you run off the pavement. It's just a steering problem. Now, if it's really severe and it's really pulling you off to the right side of the road, the 4th bullet here, it says pull over to the side of the road and regain your composure after you've stopped. Because sometimes if you're going around, let's say you're driving at 30, 35 miles per hour and you look down at your phone because it's ringing, and for whatever reason you go off the edge of the pavement, that's going to startle you. Your heart's going to beat a little bit faster. You're going to have to grip the steering wheel, like I said, a little bit tight because the car is going to jerk. But rather than keep driving down the road, pull over to the side of the road for a moment, stop, and think about what just happened. Like, man, I shouldn't have looked down at my phone. I shouldn't have grabbed it. Get your composure back and then continue on down the road. Now, there are two negative things that can happen when you go off the edge of the road. The first thing is that you can't regain control and it keeps pulling you off to the edge. So it's sucking you in to the soft shoulder, in towards the grass, into the bushes, into the small trees. And you're going to stop when the car stops, depending on what you're hitting. Hopefully it's nothing too abrupt. The second negative thing that can happen is where you turn the wheel too quickly, you overreact, and you shoot right across the center line. You go right across the road into oncoming cars. This is why you don't panic. This is why you don't turn the wheel real sharp. Now, here's an insurance company provided me with about 20 different training videos. This got me into, this was many years ago. This is probably 15 years ago that I received some of these movie clips. And this is what prompted me to come up with my own, come up with my own channel, make my own kind of videos for my driver's ed class. And eventually I'll get to some of these. But this was provided by an insurance company in Canada about running off the pavement. So let's take a look. And they did it in a pretty safe area. So they're not going to have any bad outcomes here.
Drifting onto the gravel shoulder of a highway can lead to a serious collision.
The uneven traction could cause you to lose control of your vehicle and send you into the ditch.
In this situation, don't make any quick movements. Making a quick change or abruptly moving back onto the pavement could send your vehicle into the path of oncoming traffic.
A head-on collision could occur because of overcorrecting. You should grip the steering wheel firmly and slowly ease off the gas, but do not brake. When you feel you have control of the vehicle, check your mirrors.
Okay, I stopped it right here for a second. See how the car is leaning to one side? This is why the car is going to pull you to the right. And this is not that bad. Most roads, it's going to be worse than that. So it's going to really, really suck you off to the right. This is why you're trying to straddle the pavement and the dirt for a little bit to kind of get some semblance of traction. And then when you want to come back on, you're going to, turn the wheel ever so slightly to get back on. So let's take a look at the rest of the clip here.
Signal and ease back onto the highway when safe.
If the drop-off to the shoulder is steeper than usual, slow down even more and steer back onto the pavement at an even sharper angle.
And for the most part, off to the side of the road was kind of clear. If you don't think that you can move the car back to the left, why not just put your right signal on, start to brake and slow down and pull over into that dirt area? Definitely you could have held the whole vehicle. You would have been safe over there. And like I said, that's where you're going to kind of regain your composure. Now, one of the negative things about going off the edge of the pavement where the drop-off is more than like an inch or two, once it starts getting about 3 or 4 inches and you try to come back on, you're going to rub the side of your tire, okay, the side wall of your tire on the pavement, and there's a chance you're going to rip or tear the tire, and that's going to cause a blowout. Now, other causes of blowouts will be any object that you hit on the roadway. So this is why it's so important that you're scanning the road and straddling or avoiding debris, because we don't know if it has sharp edges. I don't know why this student told me this, but I actually had a student tell me that when he was younger, he and his best friend would, just for kicks, would put a cement cinder block, those big blocks that are like 10 inches, high and about 1 foot long, 1.5 foot long, those gray cinder blocks. They would put that inside a paper bag, and then they would put it out on the roadway, and they would see if there was a vehicle foolish enough to go over the paper bag. I actually had someone tell me that that's what they did. So you never know what's inside of things. So this is why you should never hit something and why you should try to avoid it. Don't try to straddle it because it could get stuck underneath. But glass, metal, metal that's come off pickup trucks, nails, bottles, all those things are going to cause problems for tires, and you're going to have a blowout. So a blowout is quickly losing air from your tire, and you're probably going from fully inflated to flat probably within 10 to 15 seconds. So you are going to have some lack of traction on the roadway, and the vehicle will always pull in the direction where the tire is in the front. So I want you to write down your notes. This will probably come up on the final. So now that we've done the midterm, take good notes because the final is going to be here 2 weeks from tonight. So anytime that the front tire blows in the front, it's going to pull in that direction. So the worst tire to have blown out will be the front left tire, because that is going to pull you into oncoming traffic. It doesn't matter which tire in the back gets blown. It's going to cause a fishtail. And what do I mean by a fishtail? A fishtail, let me get out of here for a second. A fishtail is when the back end slides out and then it comes back in the opposite direction. So I'm swaying from right to left. So as I'm going in one direction, then you're going to have to counter steer in the opposite. And what I want you to write down in your notes is the faster that you travel, the more severe the fishtail. So by getting to your brake and slowing down, the fishtail should be getting a little bit easier to control. So always hold the steering wheel. So any driving emergency, I should probably have started out the whole discussion tonight saying that if you've got a driving emergency, steering is your most important thing. Always try to keep your car on the roadway. So when you see the word straight in the PowerPoint here, what we're saying is staying in your lane, staying between the yellow and the white line. Ease off the gas pedal, should still be a steering situation. When you feel you've got some control of the vehicle, that's when braking should take place. And then pull over to the side of the road with your directionals, because you know you're going to have to change a tire now. Now, of all the different things that we talk about tonight, changing a tire is something that everybody should know how to do. Now, it may be difficult, okay, depending, your size, male, female, both sexes have problems with it, but everyone should know the technique of how to change a tire. Now, if it gets to be where you just can't do it for whatever reason, you can't get the car jacked up, or you can't get the tire off or whatever, and believe me, I've been in situations where it's just not going to work. I can't get the lug nuts off. So this is what I want you to write down. This is the first time that I think we've talked about this. It is important, and I don't have my bill. I think I just put it away. It came in the mail, I think, last week. I am a firm believer of having a membership to AAA. Now, I get nothing from AAA, but I've been a member for, oh my goodness, probably 30 years. Depending on what you have for a membership, they will tow your vehicle. If it breaks down, they'll come out and change a tire for you. I've had someone from AAA come out and change a tire for driver's ed because my jack wouldn't lift up the car correctly in winter weather. It's a very small jack, and you've got to be on a really good surface to jack it up. And I was just in a bad area, and I tried for about a half hour. I said, I've got AAA, I'm going to use it. So I'm a firm believer. If your parents don't have it, talk to them about it, and maybe a good birthday gift or a Christmas gift or something. But to get a membership to AAA, so they come out, change a tire, they'll bring gas to you if you run out of gas. They'll tow your vehicle within a certain number of miles if you totally break down. I think it's a great, sense of security, knowing that you've got that. And now, and I got my phone here, but there's an app that AAA has, and you can actually put all the information about your vehicle, so when you do break down, it sends it right to them, and they know they can tell by GPS where you're located. They know the vehicle that you're probably in, and it gets to be really, really a lot easier than trying to make a phone call and get through to people. Is just send in the information through the app, and then they'll get back to you and let you know when they're going to come out and take care of you. So it's a great thing to have. Back to changing tires. There's all situations that we talked about before about what's going to cause problems. Tire pressure is another one. Surprisingly, if your tire pressure is too low and you hit a pothole or hit a curb, you could cause your tire to pull away from the rim. So your rubber tire is on metal. It's on a rim, and there's a seal that keeps the air from escaping. So if you hit something too jarring, it is going to cause a rip or tear in that seal, and then it's going to cause a blowout. So tire pressure is really important. And the way that you check tire pressure, I've got a guy here that did it, and I should make this video. This was really easy, but I just went to the internet to get this guy because I've used him before.
Is that okay? Answer me if you're okay. Honda Lyconi.
Hello, my name is Tom Bernstoff, a certified master mechanic out of Reading, Pennsylvania, and today I'm going to show you how to put air in your tire. Now, anytime you think you got your tire a little bit low, the best thing to do is just check it with your tire pressure gauge. It should be checked every time you stop to put gas in your car. And most of us don't have time to do that, but if you ever get a chance to, every once in a while, before you go out on a little trip, just push this little gauge on here. This one's reading about 27 pounds. The recommended tire pressure is always on the side of the tire. It's usually marked in a little block similar to this here. If you don't find it on the tire, you can find it inside the driver's side door and on the label. That's the correct tire pressure for your vehicle. Now, when you pull into your local gas station, they have a little pump there. Sometimes it's free, quarter, 50 cents. What you do is you'll turn it on, push it up exactly the same way as this tire pressure gauge goes on your valve stem. You push it in here, fill it up. Periodically, you want to stop, put your gauge on it, check it. This one here, 44 pounds. You just fill it up till you get your 44 pounds on your gauge, just somewhere right around here. Put your cap back on once you get it up to pressure, and you're good to go.
Now, surprisingly, that most people, if we were to give you a question on a test, which type of tire would get more, that has a higher pounds per square inch, a car tire or a bicycle tire, most people would say a car tire, of course. It's much, much bigger, much wider and taller. It definitely is going to have a higher PSI, pounds per square inch, and that's what PSI stands for. But actually, your pedal bicycle, has almost 3 times the amount of air that you put into a car tire. So when you put the wrong type of, or the wrong amount of air into a tire, you're going to wear out the tire a lot quicker, and you're going to probably cause it to have a blowout next time that you hit anything like a curb or a pothole. So as we were saying, here's some tips for tire pressure. As we said in the video, when you go to the gas station, you should be able to check it and basically do it about once a month. And you're going to lose about 1 pound per square inch a month, and you're going to lose it in the wintertime when the outside temperature drops. So when it goes down by 10, so it could fluctuate 3 to 4 PSIs in the wintertime between a cold tire and a warm tire. Don't rely on the sensors that are inside your vehicle. I've been checking that lately on mine. And by the way, I did fix the front left tire. I had a nail in it, and I finally did get someone to fix that. And the pressure gauge that he showed you is pretty cheap. You can get one for around $5 or $10, so I highly recommend having that one. I've got one in the driver's ed car that's more like a bicycle tire gauge because I don't like the pencil one as much. I'd rather see a dial. And we said you can check your tire pressure by looking at what the number is listed on the tire, or go to the side of the driver's side door to get what the number actually is. So this is what happens when you continually drive on tires that aren't properly inflated. See how much it's worn? You can see some tread to the left of the picture, but to the right, where that is really worn right down, right to the metal steel belts of a tire. That is not the best. And one Saturday I was driving with a student and we saw a car off to the side of the road. Now the driver wasn't there because I thought maybe they may need some help changing a tire. And by the way, we have pulled over to help. Students and I have pulled over to help people jump a car or to change a tire. I think it's a great learning experience and it helps somebody out that doesn't have AAA. So I thought maybe this person needed some help, but they weren't near their vehicle. But I did find it kind of ironic that they must have been driving on that flat tire for a while, because if you continue to drive on a flat tire, it will go off the rim. And what I mean by the rim is, see that metal part? That's where your tire is adhered to your car right there on that rim. And the more that you drive on a flat tire, you're going to just rip and tear all the rubber on the tire till it gets so loose it just works its way off. And now you not only have to buy a new tire, but now you're going to have to buy a new rim, because if you ride on pavement like that, there's a metal edge, okay, right near the hubcap, that you're flattening it right down. You're flattening it right down. And that's not good. They're not going to be able to use that. So now you're going to have to buy a new rim. Now, changing a tire can be a very dangerous thing. It's not the worst thing. If you really know what you're doing, you should be able to do it in about 15 to 20 minutes. Put it down in your notes. Your owner's manual in your glove compartment will take you step by step on what you need to do to change a tire. So, like, let's say you're baking brownies. You got a box of brownies, and on the back, you've got 8 steps. What's step number 1? What's step number 2? So changing a tire is just like baking. You get out the owner's manual, you thumb to the index, and it says changing tires on page 420. You go to 420, step 1. This is what you do. So let's kind of go through step by step what you need to do. Now, before we do that, I want to show you a few people that really didn't look at directions, tried to do it on their own, and let's see if you can see some of the mistakes that they've made. Okay, I hope you got a good laugh out of these commercials. And if you looked real closely, you're probably saying, wait, they spelt the word tire wrong. T-Y-R-E is the way they spell tires over in Europe. So these were commercials that they aired over in Europe. And let's take it commercial by commercial. So the first one of the young female changing a tire. What you should take away from that is know your surroundings, and if the tire is not coming off correctly, be very careful if you lose your grip, if you lose, it could very well, she could have gone right out into traffic. It doesn't have to be going over the top of the bridge. I think they, of course, did that for comedic effect, you know, to get everybody to have a laugh. In the second video, the guy was perfect. He was doing everything that he needed to do to be safe, to set up the reflectors. He had his warning vest on, did everything, but his mistake, didn't pay attention when he stepped out into traffic to take a look at what he had done. When you're changing a tire, especially if you've got someone with you, they should probably be looking out for you, you know, and let you know what's going on. Be the set of eyes while you work around your car to change the tire. If you don't have anybody, just make sure that you're not stepping out over that white edge line. And then, of course, on the last one, the dead obvious reason is you should never reach underneath your vehicle when it's up on a jack, because it just takes some type of bumping the car, and it will just kind of slide off the jack a little bit and then onto you. And, you know, you would think no one would ever do that. No one would go underneath a vehicle, or no one would, you know, step out into traffic. All these were based upon real stories. All these commercials were based upon things that actually did happen. So when we say these things, you may say it's never going to happen to me, but it could. It actually could. The correct way to change a tire, and this is a tire warehouse that put out this great video on how to change a tire. So I'm going to show you the correct way how to change a tire.
Make sure your vehicle is parked in a safe location. A low-traffic parking lot or large paved pullout well off any busy street or road is ideal. Set the emergency brake first. If you have a manual transmission, put your car in first gear. If your vehicle is an automatic, just put it in park. Next, place wheel chocks or big rocks behind and in front of the tire opposite the one being changed. This will prevent vehicle movement and the jack from slipping while we work. Next, find your lug wrench, jack, and spare tire. These tools are often located in the trunk under the carpeting. Your vehicle's manual will indicate exactly where they are. This only applies if your vehicle has a hubcap. Many hubcaps just snap into place, but some are held on by the lug nuts. You can usually pry them off using something flat like a screwdriver. If your vehicle has covers over the lug nuts, be sure to remove them as well. Loosen the first lug nut by rotating the wrench counterclockwise just once without removing the lug nut entirely. Then, loosen the second nut directly opposite of the first one, and then the one opposite that, like a star-shaped pattern. If the lug nuts are tight, use your body weight to push down. Look in your owner's manual for where to position the jack. It's often under the frame near the tire with the flat, but not always the case. Our jack should be aligned with a thin seam line that runs under the vehicle. The factory jack has a notch cut out of it for a specific fit. Next, insert the handle and turn it clockwise to raise the car. Lower the jack if at any point your car seems unstable, and never ever get under a car that is only supported by a jack. Now, fully remove the lug nuts and place them in a secure location. Grasp the tire with two hands and pull it straight out. Then place it under the car. This is a precautionary measure just in case the jack slips. Remove any aftermarket accessories like hub rings at this point. The valve stem on the spare tire should be facing out. Then align it with the wheel studs and push it into the assembly. Tighten one lug nut by hand. Follow the same star pattern used to remove the lug nuts. Remove the flat tire from underneath the vehicle. Turn the jack handle counterclockwise and lower the vehicle. Once the vehicle is firmly grounded, fully tighten the lug nuts using your wrench, again in the star-shaped pattern. Remember to gather your tools back in place. Remove the wheel chucks and place the flat tire in the Finally, remember that spare tires are smaller and less capable than regular tires. They should only be used for limited short-distance driving. Visit your nearest discount tire.
Okay, I think they did a fantastic job of describing the steps, and each thing that they talked about is in your owner's manual. So it just visually gives you an idea of what to do. Now, today was a very nice day. If we were actually in class, if we were in a driver's ed classroom, I'd take all of you out. Not this late at night, but if we had class in the afternoon, I would take you out and we would work on changing a tire. I think it's a great thing to know how to do, and everybody takes a step from the process, and we all get involved. And I kind of like doing it, but I thought they did a fantastic job. Just make sure that you put the jack on the frame where it needs to be. A lot of people don't do that correctly. So these are the steps that they actually went through. Look for a safe place to pull over, get everyone out of the vehicle, put your warning apparatus, flares, triangles, emergency lights out where people can see you. Set the parking brake and trig the wheel, so they put things in the front and the back. Pry off the wheel cover. Remember that turn the wheel or the lug wrench to the left. When you want to loosen something, it's lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. And as they said, do it in a star pattern. Place the jack on firm ground, so you're looking for pavement. If you don't have pavement, look for a board or something that you could put the jack on, and then lift the car up about 2 to 3 inches more than what you're going to need for the new tire that's going to be put on. Remove the lug nuts and keep them in your pocket. Lift off the bad tire, replace it with the spare. Now, some tires are going to be that small, thin donut tire. Put the tire back on, screw the lug nuts on, going on a star pattern. Lower the vehicle and tighten the lug nuts up the rest of the way. Put your hubcap on, put your bad tire in the trunk, because you never want to leave it on the side of the road, because they could use the rim to put on your new tire that they're going to have to put on. And plus it's littering, so never leave a flat tire on the side of the road. Skidding, I don't know why they put this in the section about driving emergencies, but I guess if, you've got a blowout, the car is going to kind of slide, fishtail. So I guess that's what they mean by skidding. So all you're trying to do is steer in the direction you want the car to go, but stay off the brake. Everything is going to be steering. So, and there's always going to be a counter steer. You're going to, if the back end is flying out to the right, you're steering to the right. If the back end is flying out to the left, you're steering to the left. But always try to make sure that you're going to be traveling down the road in between your lines. So when you see the word straight, what they're saying is stay in your lane. Most of the time when you're skidding, it's going to be a steering situation and not so much a braking. You're going to brake eventually when you come out of the skid, so it's going to be maybe 2 or 3 counter steers. And once you get to the 2 or 3 counter steers, then I would say go to the brake pedal. And for most people in all the years that I've been teaching, and if we had a chance to work on skidding, I would say 98% of the people catch it first try. They feel the car sliding out. They know which way to turn the wheel, and they do the correct thing. I have had a few students, the 2%, that turn the wheel the wrong way, and we spin the car around in a 360. We just totally lose control. We don't stay on the pavement. We kind of go around in a half circle, whatever it is, depending on the speed we're going. And we have to get back on the road and learn it the right way. So I used to be able to put you in a skid on some of my older driver's ed vehicles, but the one that I've got right now doesn't really give me the opportunity to put you into a skid. I'm not going to really go over flooded engines because I think you need a car that's older than like 20, 30 years. Most cars now come with what we call fuel injectors, which means that the minute you put your foot on the brake pedal and take the key and turn it all the way to the right, a small mist of gas is being, given to your cylinders, and it's going to ignite when you turn the key with the spark plugs, and the car starts right up. But on older cars, almost like a lawnmower, if any of you mow lawns or use a snowblower, you know that there's a little rubber button that you have to press to prime to get some gas into the area cylinder where the spark plug is, and then you do the pull cord, or if you've got electric start on your snowblower, you hit a button and it starts right up. Well, cars have fuel injectors now, so we really don't have to worry about that. Wet brakes is something we do need to worry about. If we go through large puddles of water, what happens is moisture gets on the brake pedal, the brake pad, and the rotor of your brakes, and there's not enough friction to stop the vehicle correctly. It's going to cause the car to have a longer area to come to a complete stop. And the way that you get rid of that moisture is what we call drying your brakes. And by drying your brakes, you're accelerating with your left foot. You're braking with your left foot, accelerating with your right foot, and that's creating some type of friction. Let me show you with my hands here for a second. So by accelerating and braking at the same time, you're creating friction. And if you rub your hands together like this, you're going to feel there's going to be heat, and that heat will cause the moisture, the wetness between the brake pad and the rotor to dissipate, to leave. And you may feel the brakes being a little bit spongy. You may hear some squeaking to your brakes. That's an indicator that you may have some issues. A lot of these videos I don't have because they're on my laptop and I couldn't get them off. I couldn't find them. I guess you got to locate them in a certain location and then move them over, but I couldn't find them. Brake failure is probably one of the biggest concerns that we have when we're driving. We never want to have to use our brakes and hit the brake pedal and find out that there's nothing there. Usually a warning light will come on when there's some issue. Now that everything's computerized, we have a sense when maybe the brake fluid level, and remember, there is brake fluid level, just like there's gas and oil, there's power steering fluid, there's brake fluid level. So if you have a bad level of fluid, it's going to affect some of these major components to your vehicle. So with brake failure, it could just be an air pocket in the brake line. It could be low brake fluid. But you're going to usually feel the brakes start to give a little bit, be a little bit soft and mushy before you totally lose them, and then the light's going to come on. Remember, you have a parking brake. A parking brake will slow you down, but it will not stop you. All right? Shift to a lower gear. There is another gear below drive. That gear is going to slow the car down, but it will not stop the car. So pump the brake pedal, hold the braking, the emergency brake lever while you use it, shift to a lower gear, look for something to sideswipe. All these things should be going through your mind, are all options to you as you're trying to regain some control of your vehicle. Now, once you have, beep horn and flash your lights to give people an idea that you're out of control. The big thing here is if you can stop the car, leave it. Do not try to get back out on the road and drive any further. You need to call for help. This is, once again, where AAA will come in and basically help you out. So consider yourself lucky. Direct collision course, something's happening and your car is going towards another vehicle. Try to stop quickly. That will lessen the impact. Maybe turn quickly, go to the soft shoulder, but never go to the left. Now it says never go to the left, but there may be a situation. You're going to have to play it by ear. But I'm the firm believer, if someone is going to the right and I'm going to the right, I might as well go left and miss the person. I understand they say if you go left and you have a crash, you're going to be in their lane and they're going to blame you for what happened. In reality, you're just reacting to them. Sideswiping things will reduce the impact and the chance of injury, and then speed up quickly to avoid a hazard that is about to hit you from the side. So this would happen like in a parking lot, maybe downtown Durham, Dover, with some of these angle parking spots. So you're just trying to see the brake lights and go, oh no, they're going to back out the rest of the way. And this is where you speed up just to get where there's going to be conflict. Okay? It's kind of like a game of tag. Driving is a lot of like a game of tag. You never want to get hit. You never want to get touched. So if someone's getting a little bit close to you, you speed up. Never try to get hit on both sides. So when we're talking about side swiping or, speeding up, here's a guy that got hit from both sides by tractor trailers. He's lucky. Sometimes you just need to be lucky. And yes, that is a picture of a guy looking at us while people are taking his picture. Okay, they had to get those trucks pulled away from him. But it's just amazing. I mean, it's amazing that he was able to make it through that. If a car overheats, remember your temperature gauge inside your car is going to be going towards the red portion for hot. There could be a leak in your radiator when you don't have radiator fluid. The car is going to get too hot. So there is fluid that's circulating through your vehicle to keep it cool, because metal does not like heat. So there is antifreeze, excuse me, that is circulating through your car to make sure that those parts don't get too warm. So when they do get too warm, then you're going to have an indicator, a light inside your car indicating that the car is overheating. You should pull over to the side of the road and don't drive it. Turn off the engine. Okay, call for help, see if the fluid level is low, and then maybe put some fresh fluid in. Never put anything cold into your radiator. Now, most of you probably don't even know where the radiator is located. Once again, go to the owner's manual, and they're going to show you. And this is why I had you diagram your car. And I'd say more than half of you didn't do it, of knowing your vehicle. This would show you where your radiator is and where you put your fluid. If you don't know where to put your fluid, you could damage your vehicle. So it's really important to read, to understand, rather than doing something. You may think in your head you're doing something smart, but in reality what you're doing is something very foolish and will do some damage to your vehicle. Always raise the hood. Put on your emergency flashes so people know that you need help. But be very careful about loosening the radiator caps, because if it's under pressure, you open it up, you could have a steam burn. Okay, it's just like the radiator cap is almost like a soda bottle that you shake, and when you open the cap, everything goes all over your arm. So when you loosen that radiator cap, there's going to maybe be a little bit of fluid still left or some steam, and it's going to be released, and it's going to burn your hand, your fingers, your forearm. It hurts. So let the car cool down before you put anything inside your vehicle. This doesn't happen that often, so I'm not going to really go over it. The only reason why vehicles really go into water, it's usually in flooded areas. So this heavy rain coming down, maybe in the Midwest, west part of the country, they're more apt to see cars being, pushed away by water. But in New England, it just doesn't happen. Very rarely do people leave the roadway, go over a guardrail and into water. To be honest with you, I would think that in New England, cars being submerged in water are more likely to happen with people ice fishing, and they've got their vehicle out on the ice, and the car goes through the ice, more than going over the edge of the road, over a bridge, guardrail. But just remember, vehicles will float for a little bit, so try to get out as quickly as possible. It will go engine side first, so depending the vehicle that you're driving, where your engine is. Crack the window because you want to get out, because once water starts coming into your vehicle, it's going to short out the electrical system. So you want to kind of get to the back of the vehicle, open up a window or door, and try to escape as quickly as possible. You should have enough time. Now, if you're in your seatbelt, you're going to probably undo your seatbelt and get out. It's the people that go off the edge of the road, get submerged in water, and they're all dazed and confused because they hit their head on the roof of the car when they left, and they're not able to get out because they didn't have their seatbelt on. So seatbelts really help you a lot when you go off the edge of the road and you're sinking in water, because it keeps you in your seat and you know where you are. If you got thrown to the back seat, you may not know that you're in the back seat and how to get out of your vehicle. So here's a situation where someone went off a to be honest with you, there's not much of a guardrail right there. It's just metal wire. That's why he went over. You can see there's some snow, and that's Utah, actually. So it doesn't look too safe, does it? When I told you about a car being submerged in water in New England, it's usually because it goes through the ice. This article, and this happened in 2015. Sarah passed away. I knew Sarah. Sarah and her mom used to sit a couple rows behind me in church every Sunday. We went to the same church for many, many years. Unfortunately, when she was 11 years old, she and her twin brother were with her dad ice fishing in New Durham, New Hampshire, on Mirror-Meeting Lake. And her brother was able to get out of the car and she was not. And she was submerged for a long period of time. And when they were able to get her out and revive her, she was brain damaged and she could never walk again, and she was confined to her wheelchair and an oxygen machine. She could communicate by using an alphabet board, so she would point to letters and spell out, but she couldn't actually say any words anymore. She would blink sometimes, for yes and no, but it was very, very sad on her passing. So I did know this individual, and it's all because the car got submerged in water. Headlight failure is very common in New England because there are so many frost heaves and potholes, and usually headlight failure is when one of your headlights goes kaput because you hit the pothole so hard that the little filament that's inside a light bulb kind of separates, and you no longer have use of your low beam, so you only have one headlight. And by the way, you can get pulled over for driving with only one headlight. Now, they'll usually give you something called, write this down, DOT tag. A DOT tag is Department of Transportation tag, which means you need to fix that item within 5 days. If you don't fix it within 5 days, then it becomes a ticketable offense, and you'll have to pay a fine. Okay, so it's not a moving violation. You don't lose your license, but you are going to have a fine to pay. Now, when it says use the dimmer switch, what they're talking about, if you can't see the road, use your high beams. Pull off the road, use your emergency flashes. If too many cars around, you really don't want to blind them with high beams, so maybe your emergency flashes will give you enough light to get you off to the side of the road. I don't have an extra pair of headlights, bulbs in my car. I used to in my old driver's ed vehicle. I always thought it was smart to have an extra brake light and headlight in case a light went out, because the time that you're going to need it is like right now. It's almost 8:30, and probably most of the auto body parts stores around are closed. So what are you going to do? It's nighttime and you got one headlight and you still got a 2-hour drive. So I always thought it was smart to have an extra pair of headlights and brake lights in a car. But for right now, I got the brake light, but I don't believe I have a headlight. So I'll have to think about getting one. They do get kind of expensive, but it is smart to have it in your car. Stuck gas pedal, the company that comes to mind when you hear stuck gas pedal is Toyota. And you're probably too young to remember this. I've been teaching driver's ed for a long time, so it's probably close to 8, 9, 10 years ago. Toyota had a problem with certain models of their vehicles that would not slow down at intersections. So you're using your brake pedal and the gas is still being like being pushed down even though you're not on the gas pedal. Now, the biggest problem for most of the crashes that were occurring is people kept on hitting the brake pedal going, oh, the car's not stopping, and they're hitting the brake and it's still not slowing down. What they should have done, and what I want you to write down in your notes, is shift to neutral. Once you go to neutral, the gas pedal becomes irrelevant. The gas pedal, and I'll do this for whoever's driving tomorrow, we'll do this. We'll be driving and I will put you in neutral and I'll show you how this works, okay? So try to remind me if I don't do it with any of you tomorrow when we drive, or any of you when we drive next. I'll do this because it's kind of a neat thing to show you. But once you go to neutral, the only pedal that does become effective is the brake pedal. So back 10 years ago when Toyota had their problem, all these people, if they would have been trained correctly, if they would have thought back of what their options were, if they went to neutral, they probably would still be alive. But they went right through stop signs and traffic lights and they were T-boned. And there were a lot of deaths. I mean, a lot. I'm talking like, 20, 30 deaths in a short period of time, all because of a stuck gas pedal. And that's a lot. And that's why you got to be looking out for recalls on your vehicle. Recalls on a vehicle where they get your VIN number off your registration and they send you a notice indicating we have found out that there's a problem with like brakes, gas, exhaust, and get it to the dealership and we'll repair your vehicle free of charge. But you have to, read your mail or go online and check the make and model of your car frequently to see if there's any outstanding recalls that you may have missed. I would always check the recall list online before I buy a used car just to see, whether the people I'm buying the car from is actually have had the work done. Oh, here's the Toyota. Toyota actually did a public service thing about. Here's stuck gas pedal.
Although it is a rare occurrence, your Toyota may experience a sticky accelerator pedal. You should pay attention to the operation of your accelerator pedal. If the accelerator is harder to depress than normal or slower to return, it may be a precursor to a stuck pedal. These vehicles should be parked and a dealer immediately notified. Okay, what should you do if your accelerator pedal sticks? Although it is a rare occurrence, we thought you should know what steps you should take in the unlikely event that it did occur. If your pedal sticks and won't return to its original position when you take your foot off of it, step on the brake with both feet using firm and steady pressure. Don't pump the brake pedal as it will deplete the effectiveness of the brakes. Then simply shift into neutral, that's N for neutral. And firmly apply the brakes to make a controlled stop on the side of the road. If your Toyota's transmission has a notched shift gate and you're driving in sport mode, step on the brake with both feet using firm and steady pressure. Simply nudge the shifter to the right into drive, D. Then forward into neutral, N. And firmly apply the brakes to make a controlled stop on the side of the road in a safe area and shut off the engine. Drivers who cannot put the vehicle into neutral should turn the engine off. This will not cause a loss of steering or braking control, but the power assist to these systems will be lost. If the vehicle has an engine start-stop button, firmly push the button down for at least 3 seconds to turn off the engine. Do not tap the start-stop button. If the vehicle has a conventional key ignition, turn the key to the accessory position, or ACC, to turn off the engine. But do not remove the key from the ignition, as this will lock the steering wheel. If you experience any issues with your accelerator pedal, please contact your dealer without delay. If you are not experiencing any issues with your pedal, Toyota is confident that your vehicle is safe to drive. Thank you.
So this was kind of, PSA that they kind of had to do just to make sure people were bringing their Toyota and making sure it passed the recall test because they were having some major issues. Power steering failures, just like brake failure, there's going to be an air pocket in the line of the fluid that's going to the power steering cylinders to allow you to steer. Now, even if you were to lose your power steering capabilities, you could still steer a car. It's just going to be extremely hard at lower speeds to steer. So stop the vehicle, restart it, see if it's a computer glitch. If it's not a computer glitch, then there probably is a leak. Then just leave the car there and have it towed away. Hood flies up doesn't happen that often. Like I said, I did find a video online. I think it was in a third world country. Now, why would a hood fly up? Like I said, I've been over 1.5 million miles. It's never happened. Usually someone has opened up the hood, like to check the oil level or to put maybe fluid in the radiator. And when they dropped the hood, they just didn't make sure that it latched correctly. And there's usually a safety mechanism that prevents it from flying up more than like an inch or two. And that must have malfunctioned, because in the video, and let me show it to you, it happens really quick. So as you can see, it does fly up, and it usually will kind of, smash the window, and it doesn't go back down. So you're going to have to kind of, creep down in your seat to look between the dashboard and the opening with the hood, or look out the side window to guide you off the road. But that's pretty severe. Windshield wiper failure is basically the motor. We're not talking the blades. There's too much snow or ice on your wiper, and you didn't clear it off, and you think, oh, I'm just going to put my wipers on when I get in the car. Well, what you're doing is you're burning out the motor. So there's a motor that makes the wipers go up and down. So this is what they're talking about, windshield wiper failure. It's not the rubber. So in a blinding snow or rain, you're going to have to look out the window to guide you off the road. If it is bad blades, just get new ones, or if you carry extras in your trunk, put on the new blade. But the best thing you can do is clean off snow from the blade, and usually it's in the wintertime that this happens, and not so much in the rain. Disable vehicle, pull well off the road or the shoulder so you can be seen for about 200 feet. You should never park on a hill or a curve, because people aren't going to see you as they come up over. They need time to react in case there's oncoming cars. Use your parking lights or emergency flashes if it's a emergency parking lights. But if you want people to stop to help you, put the emergency flashers on. A white cloth, this is going to probably be a good test question. Tie a white cloth to your car if you don't have electrical power. That is the universal symbol that I need help. Is a white flag, red in the wintertime, to tell people I don't have any electrical power to my car, and I need someone to stop to help me. Now, with cell phones, we usually don't, we call people. We're not worried that we're going to be there too long, because even if we don't have AAA, we can get hold of a friend that can come out and help us out. I try to stay with people for a period of time. Don't try to walk away from your car. You never know when you're going to get hit or picked up. It's kind of dangerous walking by yourself, especially late at night. We'll talk more about that next week. Use flares or reflectors 200 feet behind and in front of your vehicle. So this is going to get people away from your car, slowing down so you can stay with your car. And I would always be on the right side of my vehicle. I'd be out of my vehicle just in case if it was going to get hit. Now, jump starting a vehicle can be kind of tricky. The thing that I want you to write down in your notes before I show you a quick video is red is for positive, black is for negative. Once again, this is where you go to the manual, open it up, read the instructions, how to do it, and then go through the steps. If you have AAA, AAA will come out and help you out. If you've got a friend, if you call Mr. Toll, hey, Mr. Toll, are you in the area? I actually had a student do that. It was probably about 4 years ago. It was 11 o'clock, and I got a text message, and it said, "Mr. Toller, remember me?" And this was probably about 6 months ago. I had them in driver's ed. And they said, "I'm at my friend's house, and my car won't start. Is there a chance that you could drive by?" So I said, "I'm going to be in lunch. I'm going to be on my lunch break in about a half hour. I'll stop by." So I'll help you out. I mean, I've been teaching classes at Oyster River for a long period of time. I would probably say I've had students come up to the classroom at least 4 or 5 times while I've been teaching and say, "Mr. Toll, I'm out in the parking lot. My car won't start. Can you come help me out?" So I bring the whole class out, and we go through the steps of how to jumpstart a car. It's probably one of the easiest things to do. You got to make sure you have jumping cables, and you've got to make sure that the cars aren't touching when you pull up the car side by side. You got to make sure the cables reach, and just put the cables on in the correct way. And actually, I did a YouTube video for this because my truck that I have out in my driveway needed a new battery, wouldn't hold a charge, so I had to jump it so I could get it to the auto body shop to get a new battery. So this was I believe the first video that I ever did. So here's my jump starting a car. So we'll take you through step by step. So that's my attempt to give you a training video on jump starting a car. And a lot of people say, well, do I have to actually do it in that order? You probably should, but as long as you go red cable to red cable, black to negative, red to positive, and make sure both vehicles are not running when you connect them, you're going to probably be okay. But just be careful that you don't have the cables on the good battery and you touch the red and the black on the dead battery, the red and black cable. If they touch, it's gonna spark. It's gonna give you a shock. So got to be kind of careful with that part. But other than that, you should be okay. When it comes to vehicles on fire, it just doesn't happen that often. And like you've probably heard the adage, there's smoke before fire. So if something smells funny and you're driving, pull over the side of the road, kind of locate where it's coming from, because it will be a burning, smelly, smoky sensation before you see a flame. Now, once the car does start to ignite, pull over the side of the road, get out, okay? Will a car blow up like you'd see on movies and stuff like that? Very unlikely, but it will engulf in a full flame quite quickly. So pull over the side of the road, turn off the engine, take out the keys, get everybody out. And by the way, if you think your car is smelling funny and there's smoke, do not pull into a gas station parking lot. That is the worst place to pull over, okay? Do not go near other vehicles because the flame can jump. Put your vehicle in an empty portion of the roadway or an empty area of a parking lot. Okay, don't make it worse for everybody else, because remember, flames can jump to other things, especially things that are flammable. And that is driving emergencies. I'm going to pop into the topic of road rage for a little bit. I know that we're not going to complete that, but at least we're going to get into it a little bit. So at this point, what I want you to write down, let's see how many people we got watching. We got just about everybody. This is what I want you to write down. This is your homework for tonight. Besides, I want you to read chapter 13 in responsible driving in section 3 in the state manual. But you're going to have to go online to do some research. So this is what I'd like you to do once we get done in about 10 to 15 minutes. I want you to Google road rage, and I want you to find a couple current articles on road rage. Now, I've got one here on the screen right now because I live in Rochester. So this happened not too long ago. I don't have the date, but I know it wasn't too long ago. But I want you to find 2 articles about road rage, and I want you to give me a paragraph or 2 about why you think it happened, what could have been done differently, how could have been resolved, why do you think these people kind of flew off the handle and went after each other. So this one is kind of funny because it's local, and how they attacked each other. They did not do it with their vehicles. They got out of their vehicle. One had a flashlight, and the other one had an angle grinder. An angle grinder is what you use on a car on automotive to kind of smooth out metal. So one guy was going to fight with a flashlight, and the other guy was going to do a power tool that is used on cars. Now, when in your right mind would you say, you know what? I'm going to prove my point by attacking somebody? What do you think the end result of road rage is? What do you want to accomplish by inflicting harm on somebody? Pain? I mean, I think that's the only thing that you really will do. But you've got to remember there are consequences to actions. So here we find that they not only made, the paper, but they've got court dates. You've got to remember, if you act out in your car, there's going to be consequences. And that's what I want to stress, and this is what we want to talk about. Let me show you. Now, these guys look like, no surprise here. They look kind of like they're kind of rough and tough, and they're not ones to talk things out and come to a conclusion. Let me show you someone about my age. This was from Massachusetts. Let me see if this is coming up. Yeah, this one right here. Watch this.
It's not a movie scene. but real-life road rage. After a fender bender, 65-year-old Richard Kamrowski jumped on the hood of an SUV, attempting to leave the scene. The driver speeding up to 70 miles per hour on the busy Massachusetts Turnpike during rush hour.
He kept going fast, slow, tried to get me to slide off. I wasn't getting off the car.
Kamrowski managed to hang on for miles as an onlooker captured the dangerous highway ride. At one point, you see Kamrowski looking down at his phone, dialing 911 for help.
Kind of like just survival mode.
The driver finally hit the brakes when Good Samaritans blocked him in. One bystander drawing a gun. Police arrested the driver, Mark Fitzgerald, for assault with a dangerous weapon, among other charges.
He took my water bottle out of my car. He smashed my window.
Police also arrested Kamrowski. He's charged with disorderly conduct. Two men on one wild ride that started with a minor crash and ended with major drama.
So it started off in a parking lot. Minor fender bender. Yet he feels like he's going to prove his point to prevent the guy from leaving, so I'm going to get on the roof of his vehicle. And you, as a driver, you're thinking, hey, I've got a 60-year-old man on my car. Why not drive away? He's lucky the guy didn't roll over onto the pavement, hit his head, and die or get run over by somebody else. Remember, like I said, there are consequences to your actions. These are grown men, and they can't think out a solution to their problem. Let's make it a little bit closer to your age. This is New Hampshire. I'll show you one more.
PD tonight. Eller is keeping his license for now.
Well, Tom and Tiffany, the judge thought it would be important for Eller to continue to drive as he looks for work. But it's hard to say what the employment prospects would be for a guy who can't explain why he decided to run someone else off the road.
Police say they've never seen such a blatant case of road rage. Friday morning, 18-year-old Cody Eller appeared in court, charged with felony second-degree assault and vehicular assault. Just a few hours prior, around 4:30 a.m., investigators say he intentionally veered his Ford Fusion into a man on a motorcycle trying to pass him on Windham Road in Pelham.
Mr. Eller admitted to the officers, made some sort of a comment to the effect of he wasn't going to allow the motorcycle to pass him. And that's what he tried to force him off the roadway.
The victim ended up at Parkland Medical Center with a broken leg. The wife of 45-year-old William Hawksley says her husband was riding his Kawasaki from home in Brentwood to work in Lowell. Now he'll need surgery to fix his leg. News 9 caught up with Cody Eller after he bailed out.
I wasn't thinking at all.
Eller spoke briefly, admitting he was as confused as anyone else as to why he did what he did.
I am not a dangerous man. I did not mean to do that, but just my thoughts and my actions just wasn't correct.
Court paperwork indicates Eller sped up and crossed over the double yellow line to hit the bike as Hawksley attempted to pass on the left. A neighbor on 111A apparently witnessed the crash and called 911. While Eller has no explanation for his actions, he does want to apologize.
I'm sorry for what I did, and I did not mean to hurt that guy with any intention.
Mr. Eller does face some serious charges, but he does not have a prior criminal record. His only previous brush with the law was for speeding. Reporting live in Pelham tonight, Adam Sexton, WMUR News 9.
Now, is it just me? But the last comment that he made to the reporter was, I didn't intentionally mean to harm Mr. Eller. Well, wait a minute. You took your vehicle and you pushed the motorcyclist off the roadway. What did you intend to do? I mean, what was that supposed to accomplish? He was supposed to stay upright when you hit him? He wasn't supposed to fall off his bike? No, you wanted him to feel pain and to harm him. And the other interesting comment that he made is that I'm confused too why I did these things. What do you mean you're confused? You should know exactly why you did it. You did it on purpose. Now I'm sorry. Now, do I believe he's sorry? Probably now, yeah, he's at court. But you've got to think these things out before they get out of hand. And this is the problem with road rage. People do not think, they only react. So part of what we're going to do for our homework is to take a look at road rage incidents, try to find stuff that's relatively local, but if you want to just get something that's more national, that's fine too. But get a couple of articles, 2 articles. I want you to read them. I want you to give me a paragraph or 2 about what happened, how you think it could have been a little bit different, and also write down what you think should happen to these people. You may not see that in the article, but how are we going to deal with people that act out in their vehicle? What are some of the penalties that we could inflict to change this behavior? Should they just lose their license? Should they just have a fine? Should we have them go to the hospital to see people that have been involved in car crashes? What they look like, what they could have done to somebody. What are some of the things that people should do? So that's part of your homework, is to do the reading for hazardous driving. So once again, I'll go over it. That looks like chapter 13, section 3 in the manual. We'll cover driving in bad weather for next Tuesday. And then I want you to do some research and a little bit of searching and do a small paper on road rage. And I'll finish up road rage at the beginning of Tuesday. I've got another 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so of road rage stuff that I want to go over. And then we'll get right into driving in bad weather. And hopefully we won't have bad weather for the rest of this driver's ed class. We are so close to being finished. Isn't it hard to believe 2 weeks from tonight will be the final? So we've got a lot of information next week. We've got driving in bad weather. We've got driving under the influence of alcohol and drugs. And then we've got insurance. Then we have driving with large trucks, motorcycles, and highway driving. Then we're going to talk about distracted driving. Then a little bit of a review, and then we are done. So please text me. Okay, so now this is the time that you can look what you have for a schedule. Text me what you have available for Saturday or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We'll try to fit you in on times to drive so we can move this thing right along. I appreciate your effort and time. Oh, let me get out of here. I'm not even looking at you. So I appreciate your effort and time that you've put into so far. Here finish up on I am. So that is it for tonight. Here we go. Here's the times that I wanted you to sign up for. Saturday morning, I have an opening.